Guys, I'm gonna make some peach salsa by not peach salsa, habanero peach salsa. And I am going to video it at the request of Matt Payne. If y'all don't know who he is, I'll leave you an iCard and you can go check him out at the Payne family on YouTube. Good young dude. And I decided I'd go ahead and do this. I've never made the recipe before, so you'll watch me take a list of ingredients from a recipe my husband found and figure out how to get it done. And then I will even show you how we're going to water bath can the salsa to store it up for another time. I hope you enjoy. Come on with me into the kitchen today. No garden tour. I've never made this recipe, as I've said before, but just based on the list of ingredients that was given to me, this is what I've come up with. You're going to need, on this scale, 4 peaches, 4 limes, salt, pepper, some Serrano, 1 or 2 small bell peppers. I'm using those 2 things for color. Garlic, habanero, at least 1 whole onion. If it's a small one, you might want 2 small ones, and your choice of cherry tomatoes. Those yellow pineapple tomatoes have turned out to be super good, so if you haven't grown those, you might look into it. They're really yummy. So I'm going to go ahead and use those, but you could use any cherry tomato. Okay, so first I'm going to start with the habanero because, well, I just want to get it out of the way. I am wearing gloves. Now, I'll cut all kinds of peppers without wearing gloves on my hands. I don't have a problem with it. But habaneros are not one of them. I do not mess with these things. You get those oils on your skin, and they're going to be there for at least a week, and you're going to forget, and you're going to touch your eye. I caution you, wear gloves, okay? So what we want to do is just put these into some nice little diced up pieces, if I can do it. And set them aside for adding into the pot in a little bit. So let's go ahead and dice these up, and we'll move on to the next ingredient. I'm just using some all-purpose cleaner, multi-purpose, multi-surface, whatever you want to call it. This stuff works really good on stainless steel and everything. And no, this is not sponsored. I'm just letting y'all know. I discovered it and it works. I'm lightly spraying because I don't want to spray my food. But what I will do is make sure I have this surface 100% clean of those flipping oils before I move on. And I'm going to make sure the handle of this knife does not contain any oils left from these gloves when I touched it. Just promise me these little couple of extra steps are well worth it when you don't have to burn your face. All right, we're going to move to the next ingredient. Just because I feel like it, because they're here, we're going to move on to getting our cherry tomatoes diced up, chopped up, whatever you want to call it. We're going to need 4 cups of these tomatoes for this salsa. So let's get to chopping. Alright, now that we have our cherry tomatoes done, we've got 4 cups total. We're going to set those aside and we're going to work on the bell peppers. And I'm sure most of you have your own ways of cleaning out a bell pepper, but I'm going to show you mine just in case you've never seen it. What you're going to want to do is just cut the top off like that. Yes, see? Oh, there, see? Just cut your top off. And you're left with this, which is really great for sticking your fingers in and just twisting. And as you see, most of the seeds are out that way. Oh, anyway, let's get to chopping this. Now remember, we're just using this more for color, maybe a little extra texture. So I'm going to see how much we get from this first one. And if I don't think it's enough, we'll go ahead and cut that other small one. And in case you're wondering, these are called chocolate bells. No, they don't taste like a chocolate, but they are really tasty. So if you've never had one, you might want to see if you can find some to give them a try. You might like them. Okay, so upon looking at this, I know that's not enough. So we're going to go ahead and move on and do this next little small one, and that should be plenty. Next is Serranos. I don't wear gloves for Serranos, but I do want to caution you. These two have the capsaicin that makes them hot, and that is an oil, and it will stick on your skin for a while. So just be cautious how you handle them, and if you don't want to worry about it, wear some gloves. That'll work. But I'm kind of practiced at it, and every once in a while I still end up touching them wrong, but I try not to. So we need the juice of 4 limes. Now I imagine you can use bottled lime juice. I'm just going to go on ahead and use these fresh limes. In case you've not seen the trick of getting a good amount of juice from either a lemon or a lime, let me show you it, and it works so easy. So you just take your fruit here and get your hands on it and roll it. Roll it kind of hard, especially limes because they're already hard. You just roll it, roll it, roll it, and it's going to loosen that juice so that you get a lot more. I don't have a juicer, but if you have one, you can certainly use it. I'm just going to squeeze the juice right on out. Now that we have our lime juice, we've got just under a half a cup from those 4 limes. So if you wanted to do bottled lime juice, I would go with just a half cup of lime juice, and I think that'll be just fine. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our garlic. We need to add some garlic to this. And let me see, I forget what I had wrote down. So our garlic. We need 2 cloves. I don't have one broken, so we're going to break this one up. I have a trick to doing that, and I just take the whole bulb and do like that. And then that helps you to be able to start getting in there to get all those bulbs loose. See, just like that. So I'm sure most of you have seen this method before, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to show you. So you know garlic is concave or curved. I like to lay it with the curved side down as best I can. I take the flat edge of a knife, lay it on top, and just smack it. Now, if I'm not going to need to chop it or something, I'll smack it harder because I don't care if it gets smushed. But in this case, I need to chop it. Or dice it, I should say. So I am a little more on the cautious side. I don't want to smush the garlic too much. Go ahead and cut this end off. That'll help. And boom, you have your peeled garlic. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up and then hit a peach. It's not difficult. I forgot, let me wash this off. Okay, so I just take the knife and kind of just make a circle around the peach. You can feel the pit with the knife. And just like with an avocado, you can just twist and one side's gonna come off. I then take a spoon and kind of just go around it a little bit until it's loose enough that I can then just pull the pit. That easy. And once that's done, we're going to cut off any icky parts we don't want. Set them aside for the garbage. And we're just going to dice these peaches. You want 4 peaches diced. We'll come back and we will do the onion and our last ingredient will be. I just got to thinking I better show you. This is how I do it. I mean, I look for the ickies that I know I'm not going to want, so I just go ahead and slice those off first. Okay. Then you're going to kind of stand it up on its end so it's up and make a slice right down the middle, cutting it in two, like so. So see, you have a bottom and a top there. And if it's a bigger peach like this one, you might have to do two slices that way, the long way. And then I just lay it back down and make some thin cuts, like, thin slices right down through both halves. Then I turn it and slice it this way. So then you have diced peaches, making sure you keep your fingers out of the way. And there you go. All right, all diced up. In a minute. Now we just need our onion. Now I'll tell you what, there's a trick to cutting an onion so that, well, a couple of them, so that you don't end up burning eyes. Number one, I like to use sweet Vidalia onions. They are less harsh and also offer a lot sweeter flavor, but they don't burn your eyes nearly as bad as, say, a white onion. However, if you will cut the root end off before you do anything else, that reduces a lot of the burn. Not all of it necessarily, but it does reduce a lot of it. So you're going to go ahead and cut the top and the bottom off. Get your loose paper off there just because it's in your way. And then I'm going to go on and cut it right down the center, just like this. And if you look, you have your different layers in here. They're going that way. But first, I'm going to go ahead and pull it apart, and I'm going to peel it. Now, I always like to try to take that one outside layer off because sometimes it's just too tough to even cook. It just won't get soft enough. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Okay, put that there. Now, what we want to do is get this into a diced form, and we can use the natural layers of the onion to our advantage. So what I do is I make sure my layers are running like this, which would be perpendicular to my body. Turn it over, and I'm gonna make some nice slices, just like we did with the peaches. We're just gonna slice it like that, and really, however long you want those or big you want your chunks is how big you make these slices. And you could go across the middle, just like we did on the peaches, so you can get even smaller, where you go ahead and cut it here and then go. But I'm going to do that, and we'll look at how it's different one from the other, if there is any difference at all. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one like that and set it aside. Get the center of that onion out of here. Now that I've got the slices, I'm going to turn just like that. And I'm just going to make some more slices. And the onion will be pretty much just naturally diced at this stage, because it'll break apart, especially during cooking, and you will have small pieces, which is what you're aiming for. But I'll show you what I mean. So it looks big, but in reality, it's really not. When you pull the layers apart, it's not. So you have a nicely diced onion, just like that. Now this one, we went ahead and sliced down the center. I got a hair on there. And now we're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing. We're just going to make some nice slices like this. And we're going to turn it. And we're going to slice it again. Now, it does look more chopped, but in the end, Let's see, get one from over here. We really don't have any difference in size. See? So that one little extra step, it's just really not necessary. So I don't do it. Alright, so now that our onion is done, I'll take y'all over to the stove with me and we'll get to done that just yet. But I was contemplating, I'm going to can this, and I really don't want to have to do this in the pressure cooker, or the pressure canner, I should say. So thinking about this, I've decided we are going to add 2 cups of distilled white vinegar and 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. You could use honey. I just don't happen to have any on hand at the moment, so I'm just going to go ahead and use some brown sugar. And that'll combat the vinegar, the acidity from the taste of the acidity from the vinegar. So we're going to put those 2 things in there, and that way we can can it in a water bath can. Okay, we are going to definitely need a spoon. Alright, we're going to put our 2 cups of vinegar in. And then we're going to put in 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar, and I'm going to pack it in there so it's nice and pack this in here so that it's nice and firm. There's 1. 2. And 6. Okay, so now that we have our brown sugar in here, let's go ahead and add salt. Now, I could probably measure, but really I'm going to say probably for a batch this size, a teaspoon of salt would be plenty. So I'm just going to go ahead and pinch in the equivalent of a teaspoon of salt, which for me is usually 2 large pinches. Might be a little under. And we're just going to go ahead and add pepper to taste. So I'm just going to put in some pepper until it eyeballs like it's enough. And I'll show you before I stir it up. Okay, so that's what the pepper looks like. It's probably roughly half a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon. And we're just going to go on ahead and stir all this together. I'm going to go ahead and bring it to a boil. And I'm just going to cook it long enough for some of the natural liquids to come out of these vegetables and the peaches. Just so I don't have to be concerned with that while I'm canning it. Okay, so in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and set my oven to 250 and get it going because I need to heat my jars up because I'll have hot salsa and cold jars. That is not going to mix. So let me get those jars ready to get in there, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to. Okay, so we had the water bath canner. I have a little bit of water at the bottom. It's more than likely not enough, but it's enough to get started. Now, in case y'all didn't know, or maybe it's your first time canning, one of the things that I have learned from others watching YouTube learning how to can, and it's absolutely correct because I forgot to do this step a couple times, I'm using city water. Now, number one, I'm not using the city water in my actual cooking. I'm using bottled filtered water. However, I don't mind it when it comes to just using it to boil. But it's hard water, it's city water, it needs to kind of need a little help or you're going to get a film that is just ugly on the outside of your jars and lids. You take some white distilled vinegar, a couple of tablespoons, and put that right down in that water, and that's going to prevent that film. And I promise you, you'll know it if you forget it because you'll have that gross film on the outside. And it's nothing that's going to harm you. It just doesn't look pretty. Hot and ready to receive hot liquid. I've got my funnel. I have a chopstick, and I might get choked a little bit being next to this vinegar and habanero. It's a little bit strong for my breathing likes. Anyway, I have a chopstick to be able to get the air bubbles out, and we're gonna load these jars. I've got, I don't even remember how many jars here, and an extra just in case there's too much, just for these jars. So what I'm gonna do is put in enough chunks in the jar, and then we'll go back and add the liquid. You want to come within a 1/2 inch head space at the top of the jar. In this case, on these jars, that 1/2 inch mark comes to the top ring where the ring sits to hold the lid on. Here's a trick. I don't know if you guys can see this, but here's a trick. If you get it too full, it's not a big deal. Just take a spoon and spoon it over into another jar. Because I definitely got this one a little too full. So let's go on and spoon that over. There. Take your chopstick, y'all, and just poke around. Make sure all the air bubbles are out from the bottom. And just for your reference, it looks like I got 2, 4, 5, and most of another one. So I'm just gonna can 5 of them. I'm gonna get all these air bubbles out, and then I'm gonna wipe the rim with vinegar just to clean it up before I put my lids on, and I'll bring you back every time because I never know how much I need. Now I'm just using hot water to fill it. You want the water to come above the jars by at least 1 inch. We're going to put it on the stove, and when it comes to a boil, we are going to let it boil for 15 minutes. And then we will wait 5 minutes after removing it from the heat and removing its lid. And I will show you pulling them out of the canner when it comes time. We landed us with 8 jars. Not bad. Not bad. My friend is here visiting, and she said it's sweet and spicy, so must be good. All right, we will see y'all next time.